Hello everybody, we are here today to discuss about the Beach Boys Summer in Paradise. But before we dive into it, I would like to give a shout out to the Good Timing podcast. I was a guest on the previous episode that's now up. We were talking about this album for like 3 hours. So if you want to learn more about it, go and check that out. I'll try to remember to put the link down below. Anyway, great guys, and I've watched all of their episodes, so it was just an honor and just super cool to be a part of this episode, especially. There's not really that much of a backstory with this. It's Mike-led project, and with Terry Melcher, he wrote most of the originals, and Brian's not involved at all with this one. He was busy with other stuff. Al was sort of out of the group around the recording of this one, though he is part of this vocally. And the Beach Boys, other than Bruce Johnston, don't play any notes, like any instruments on it. It's mostly just session musicians, including Van Dyke Parks on accordion. Actually, like the list of session musicians is quite long for this one, so a lot of times this is dismissed as this sort of very computer-esque sort of made just with that early version of Pro Tools with some sort of computer programming or whatever, but this is actually filled with great musicians, and all the organic instruments, or like the acoustic instruments or whatever, actually are recorded very well, and the vocals too. So vocally, and all the like the accordions and the sort of like the guitars and all the many instruments that this album actually includes are, in my opinion, recorded very well and sound really cool. This album is criticized mostly for its weird sort of dated production, which is partly the biggest reason probably for that is the fact that it was recorded on that early beta version of Pro Tools. It's actually the first album recorded with Pro Tools by a major act, which is super cool in my opinion. In the 90s, a lot of stuff sounded kind of like this, It's easy these days to say that, it's dated, but the thing is, we can now fingerpick, the best of the bunch, and we don't listen to the crap that came out in the 90s. We only listen to those gems here and there, which, sound great, like, stuff by Prince or Michael Jackson or, whoever, who were able to do timeless productions, even when they were using the current technology. But, a lot of stuff came out, even in the early 2000s, that sounded kind of like this, kind of like cheap crap. I'm not saying that this necessarily sounds like that all the time, but there are some elements to the production that do have that feeling or that taste. Like, for example, the drum, the way drums are recorded and programmed and produced on this one. I don't think there's a lot of real actual drums on it. It's mostly programmed. But when it comes to the vocals, as I mentioned, they all sound great, and also all the organic instruments sound really good. But yeah, like Mike just had this idea that, hey, let's just do this concept album with summer in mind, and let's call it Summer in Paradise, and we'll go from there. And this album is like almost half covers, including 2 covers of their own, like original material from earlier days, and then like these old soul R&B covers of summer themed songs, and then there's a bunch of original tunes written mostly by Mike and Terry. But anyway, that's pretty much it. We don't actually know, like, it would be fun to know more about the backstories of the originals and so on, but we don't really actually know that much about them, because this was a major flop. It sold only a few thousand copies. It's really hard to come by these days. It's not available on streaming. If you can find the CD, get it, because in my opinion it sounds much better on this actual physical copy compared to the sort of the YouTube rip. That's the most common way people listen to it, because it's not available on streaming, like I said. That's a shame, because it's weird to me that an official studio album by the America's Greatest Group, it's not available anywhere. It desperately needs a reissue or re-release. I would love to own it on vinyl, because it's the only Beach Boys album that I don't have on vinyl, excluding Stars and Stripes. So yeah, man, and the cover art is really good. It's actually fabulous. Yeah, it's a bit kitschy, I guess, but it's really cool. I like the font, the typography, the logo, and the way it's like placed over here, and the whale and the island and the colors. It just pops up. It looks really great, in my opinion. And this is the sort of the Echo Pack version of the CD. I think there was also a cassette version. It always, this is really hard to open up. It always takes me like 15 minutes to open this up. I would like to open it up for you so that I could actually show it to you how it works. I can't open this damn thing. It's it's really weird. There are like these arrows, like you should do it like this, but it's, oh, okay, now I got it. Okay, so if you open it up, you actually have over here the sort of flag, and this was actually used as the UK version, because they have two different versions of this album, US version and a UK version. So this was like the cover art for the UK version. It's a little bit different. There's some different mixes here and there. The track listing is the same, but they cut off sections of a few songs. And Somewhere in Paradise, the title track, is, I think that's like completely different recording, but otherwise it's mostly the same. It opens up. There's a beautiful lady over there, and sort of sea lions, I don't know, dolphins. And then over here we have actually the CD, which is super cool. Super cool CD, blue, with like some sort of planet over there. And then there's more of the artwork. And over here you can see that little slot. And that includes the poster that I actually already showed to you. Over here. Oh, this way, around. It's actually pretty cool. So yeah, I like it. It's pretty awesome. And if you turn it around, you kind of have the liner notes and the track listing over here, and actually all the musicians that played on it. Mike wrote this little text about the album, where he thanks John Stamos, who was included on the album, and so on, you know. And then there's lyrics for the title track, which is kind of funny because they are not the best lyrics of the bunch, but they are displayed over here like some sort of great poetry. I don't know. Anyway, let's go into the album itself. But yeah, like I mentioned briefly, I would love to know more about the creation of this album, but it's not talked about that much because it's not available anywhere. This era of the group is always completely dismissed in the documentaries. Mike doesn't really like to talk about this because it was a complete failure. So it's sad. It was like a turmoil era of the group and very overlooked time, and very little has been sort of documented or said about this era. I figure it's not probably the most interesting era of the group, you know. The album opens up with a cover, Hot Fun in the Summertime, and this is actually a song that they did also a music video for, which is, it's actually kind of funny. It's an alright cover. The same thing really can be said about all the covers over here, at least from my perspective. Not too familiar with the originals. I know they're classics, but I've heard them maybe once or twice. So when I listen to this album and these cover songs, I'm not thinking about the originals, excluding the Beach Boys versions, the two Beach Boys covers that they did. I'm very familiar with those, but these classic covers, these classic songs, I'm not thinking about the original when I'm listening to this album. So that's not sort of, I'm not doing that comparison, because I think if you're doing that, it affects your like your perception of this album a lot, because the covers do actually make up like I don't know, like 1/3 of the album. So yeah. Anyway, Hot Fun in the Summertime, I think it's an alright song, alright version. Nothing too special. It's an alright starter, like opening for the album. It's a good rocker, laid back, and great vocals. You know, not too deep. It's fun, and I think it works. I wouldn't play it outside of this album, you know, but if I do want to listen to this album, I'm not going to skip this. It's a good opener. The second track is their cover of their first recording, original recording, Surfin'. And as we all know, Surfin' dates back like 30 years prior to this album, early 60s. It's the first song that Mike and Brian wrote together, and it's not really a rock and roll song. It's more like sort of like a folksy thing, you know, the original one with its recording and the instrumentation and so on, sort of like a doo-wop folk thing. And it's barely even a song. It's very rudimentary. It has its charm, but it was never like a major worldwide hit, even though it was like a local hit. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them to actually cover it over here. It was sort of like the 30th anniversary of the song, and yeah, like I mentioned, like the original recording is very rudimentary. So like here they now have a chance to actually make it a real song, like a real rock and roll tune. You can say many things about this version over here, but you cannot blame it for being undercooked or way too similar to the original one, and that's the reason why actually I appreciate it. I'm not saying that it's objectively good, but it's super fun, and it's not like they're doing a version over here of Surfing Safari or Surfing USA, you know, these beloved songs, great classics. Like I said, you know, I'm not dismissing the original tune, but it's the original is so rudimentary, so I just think it makes sense for them to re-record it over here. I'm not saying necessarily that this is better than the original, but it's different, alright, and I do enjoy it. I think it's fun. They add this huge bombastic electric guitar riff on it. If it was just Mike singing this version, I wouldn't like it half as much. But because Carl sings like almost half of it, it actually sounds really freaking good. So, heck, you know, I really enjoy it. It's not anything super artistic, but I think it gets the album going really well. And, you know, it's got really funny drum fills and everything going in it. So, you know, maybe it's a little bit too long, because it doesn't need to be almost 3 minutes. It's actually almost 4 minutes long. Okay, so, you know, it doesn't need to be that long. If it was like 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes, it would be perfect. Summer of Love is the infamous track, the third track on the album, and it's sort of like a Mike Love rap song. And you know, I could make fun of it for 5 minutes. You know, the music video from Baywatch is super funny, and the track itself is hilarious. I'm not sure if it's intentionally or unintentionally funny. It's embarrassing. It's kind of offensive, but it's catchy, and I enjoy it. I get it, you know, it's the track that's so out there, you know, and so easy to make fun of, that it has overshadowed the whole album, and it's kind of a bummer, because the rest of the album is not anything like that, really. So I think people go and they see that clip of Mike doing the rap on Baywatch, and then they dismiss the whole album because of that. But that sound and this song does not represent this album at all. It's completely different from anything else on the album. But still, I do enjoy it. I think it's funny. It would be fun to do a cover version of that one someday. I don't know. That's not a promise, but I would love to do that someday. Anyway, move on. Island Fever is another, well, you know, Summer of Love is the first original on the album by Mike and Terry, and Island Fever is the second one. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. In my opinion, this might be, well, maybe not my least favorite, but one of the least favorite tracks on the album. Even though up until this point it's probably like objectively the best song on the album. Well, maybe the first one, Hot Fun in the Summertime, the original one, is maybe the best one, but out of the bunch. But Island Fever is, in my opinion, it's just so dull. The lyrics are weird, and it really doesn't move me in any way. It's not a rocker, it's not a ballad, it's sort of a laid-back tune, but it does nothing for me, and in my opinion, those kind of songs are always the worst. It's just unmemorable. Sure, it's got like a bit catchy chorus maybe, but otherwise I don't really see much of anything in it. Anyway, it's an alright tune, nothing too bad, but it's kind of boring. The fifth track is Still Surfing, once again by Mike and Terry, and this is actually an alright tune. I really dig it, especially the chorus, which is super gorgeous. It's sort of a haunting melody, and Mike's vocals are really great. He's singing with that soft voice, the idea behind the sort of the lyrics I can really dig, but the lyrics themselves are a bit cheesy. There are some bits and pieces that I think could have used some tweaking. It comes off as a bit corny here and there, but you know, the melody makes up for it, and yeah, it's a very catchy song, and it's got that sort of the melancholic vibe, so I really dig it. Sixth track is Slow Summer Dancing, One Summer Night by actually Bruce Johnston, and this little fact I only recently learned in the Good Timing podcast, that it's actually sort of a mishmash of another tune which I still haven't heard, an older, I think it was like a 50s doo-wop tune, which is then used over here as a sort of chorus, and I never knew that, so that does change my perception of this song. I used to, and I still do, really love this a lot. I think it's one of the best Bruce Johnston songs released under the Beach Boys banner. So yeah, I really dig it. I think Bruce gives it a really great vocal. I love the lyrics. I love Al's part. He sings so soulfully over here, especially at the tag. And otherwise, I really dig the instrumentation too, but the drum sound is really strange on this one. It sounds like a Counter-Strike, you know, sound effect, like this, I don't know, Desert Eagle. It's really weird because it's like this tender melody and the keyboard sound, and Bruce sings so beautifully. And then you hear that. It's really strange, anyway. But a great melody. Underrated tune, I really dig it. And by the way, it's really funny because on Brian's No Peer Pressure, on the last song, he sings at the end, sort of the same part, or sort of like the same part ends that song as ends this one. I get it, it's sort of a generic, how do you say that? Generic love, you know, you can find that sort of part in millions of pop songs, but I think it's interesting because both Al and Brian sing that part very similarly, and I think it might even be like the same note. I'm not really sure, but anyway, go and check that out. I think it's kind of interesting. Both songs kind of end the same way. Anyway, seventh track is Strange Things Happen, once again by Mike and Terry, and this is one of the strongest tracks on this album. Though the original US version is way too long, because it's like almost 5 minutes long. It doesn't need to be that long. 3 minutes would be enough. It's amazing composition. The melody is fabulous. It sounds so commercial. It's got this similar thing than sort of like Funky Pretty going on, kind of like a laid back rocker. And Al sings so beautifully in the chorus, and it's just so catchy. Great guitar playing in this one. I love the guitar sounds, and yeah, my only gripe with it is the tag, because at the end you got this cool instrumental part, and it goes on for like a minute, and then it gets back to sort of like the chorus. You get the phrase strange things, and this sort of looped vocal, and then you think like, okay, now it's probably going to like fade. But then it goes on for a minute and a half still after the fact. It's like, okay, I get it. Anyway. Well, yeah, you know, in the UK version they actually cut off that shorter, so I prefer that one. Otherwise, you know, one of the huge highlights of the album, a classic in my opinion. And I would go bananas if I'd go to a Beach Boys show and hear this live. Anyway. Eighth track is Remember Walking in the Sand, which is a super weird cover. For a lot of people, like, the worst track on the album, I guess, or one of the worst tracks. I always kind of enjoyed it because it's just so strange. The arrangement is just super out there. It's kind of got this weird dark mood, and it kind of works, it kind of doesn't work. But especially the tag part, I can really find a lot of enjoyment about. But when the song starts and you hear like, remember, and then it goes like super high pitched, remember, or whatever. I cannot do so high voice, but it's really weird. But yeah, you know, like I wouldn't listen to this outside of this album. But when it comes, you know, after Strange Things Happen, I don't feel the need to skip it. I enjoy it. Lahaina Aloha is the ninth track. Once again, a great song by Mike and Terry. In my opinion, probably like the most underrated Beach Boys tune ever, even though it's probably the most beloved song on this album. But how many people actually know of this song? If you go and talk to casual Beach Boys fans and say that, oh, what do you think about Lahaina Aloha? They'd go like, what? Not to even mention like general music fans, nobody knows this song, but in my opinion, it's like, it should have been a huge hit. It should have been the stadium rocker that like everybody knows, because it's just so freaking groovy and great. It rocks really hard. Carl's vocals on it are amazing. The lyrics are objectively great, very poetic and beautiful. And even Mike has, I think it's one of my favorite Mike vocals over here that he delivers. He sings with that sort of more soft voice, but I think it counterbalances really well Carl's chorus, which he sings just with that powerful, strong voice that he had in the 90s. And this song is also, it's just the right time and the length, you know. It's 3 minutes and 40 seconds, but it feels shorter than that, because it just flies by. And if I do listen to this album, I always listen to this twice, at least, because it's just so beautiful. And it always gets me emotional. We still have 3 more tracks to go. Under the Boardwalk, another cover. This one is not too bad. It's got this sort of Roland drum machine type of a beat, which I really enjoy. Sort of like late 80s beat. Yeah, it's fun, you know. It's not too fancy or nothing too mesmerizing, but I think it's a groovy, laid-back tune. And it's, you know, Carl delivers once again a great vocal, but I don't think it's just so memorable. Like, even compared to Walking in the Sand, which is just you know, remember. It's just so easy to remember because of its all that craziness, all that, you know. But Under the Boardwalk is kind of falls into that sort of, it's kind of safe cover, so nothing too offensive or nothing too special, but it works just fine. Summer in Paradise, the title track, in my opinion, ends this album. But though I gotta mention, I never listened to the studio version. I don't really care for either one, the UK version or the US version. I think it's just, you know, it's the musically it's an alright rocker. I used to actually like it a lot more back in the day before Mike did his thing with the safari trophy hunting convention, which in my opinion revealed that anything that he wrote about nature conservatism, you know, he didn't mean it. So, you know, anyway. Don't like the lyrics. Music is alright, the melody is pretty good, but the recording, it's not. It's a rocker, but it doesn't rock. So that's kind of a big bummer. But I do enjoy the live version released on Made in California box set from Wembley. I think they did that in like 95 or something like that. That's really groovy. I do enjoy that one. Well, I never listened to the studio version. Okay, but really, the album ends off with Forever. Cover version sung by John Stamos of Dennis Wilson's classic tune, which is one of my favorite tunes of all time. And, you know, I appreciate the idea. John was a big Dennis Wilson fan and he wanted to cover this one. Okay, but I don't think this belongs to a Beach Boys album. It's not really a Beach Boys recording. Beach Boys don't play on it. John Stamos sings it. John Stamos is not a Beach Boy member. And, you know, I know Carl sings a little bit on it, but I don't like this one at all. And it's just a very strange recording, and not in a good way, because it's a tender ballad, and the way the Beach Boys or the Wilsons used to sing the ballads, sort of the whole point of their best songs is that they sing it out straight from their heart. And they sing it sort of straight. They don't do any sort of trickery or, you know, like try to manipulate the listener or whatever. You know, they do it like straight from their heart. sing just soulfully, pure, honestly. And Dennis had a great way of doing that. Brian had a great way of doing that, and Carl too, like God only knows, and so on. You know, they don't do these vibratos or fancy technicals, you know, singing things that you can use if you know how to use them. And the boys definitely knew how to do that stuff, but they didn't do that. They wanted to sing straight and, you know, sort of like very in a casual way. I'm not good in like putting this into words, but maybe you get the idea. What John does over here, he's trying to make it like he's not like relying on the song itself. Like it sounds like he doesn't trust that the song itself is enough. That he has to like sell it to the listener, the emotion and the message of the tune. So he does this like, could make you laugh, I talk forever. Like this horrible voice. I hate that kind of singing. Oh, it's just so cheesy, and it always, to me, it sounds like a mockery of the tune. And I get it, he probably didn't mean it that way, and I don't have anything against him personally, but nah, it doesn't work for me at all. And then it hits these weird glam rock guitars out of the blue. It's like, what? It's like suddenly it tries to be some sort of Bon Jovi power ballad, but you know, the song just isn't that. And then at the end, suddenly all that cheese drops off, and you only hear this acoustic sound, and Carl comes in, and it's like heaven. It sounds freaking amazing, and Carl's vocal on it is heavenly. It's just gorgeous, and he sings with John on that part, and it sounds really good. But guess what? It only lasts like 3 seconds, and then it hits back with all the bombastic stuff, and the song ends. And yeah, I cannot enjoy it. Sadly, no. It's a no-go for me. So, you know, many great tunes on it. It's not really that bad. It's really not. A lot of people say it's the worst album that the Beach Boys did. If that's the case, they did pretty well. You know, they almost released 30 studio albums. And if this one is the worst, that's pretty good. That's really pretty good, you know, because it's really not that bad. In my opinion, it's even probably not their worst. I would maybe put MIU below this one. I don't know, it's kind of hard because MIU maybe has higher highs, but you know, the lower lows on that one are, the lows on that one are just crazy. And you know, Keeping the Summer Alive has a few tunes that I like even less than some of the material on this one, and even some of their like early 60s tracks, they have some stinkers over there. So yeah, what do you think about this album? Let's discuss in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it, and if you'd like to get a re-release of this one, write it down in the comment section below, because I know that for a fact someday someone that is somewhat, you know, like doing something behind the scenes, like with the Beach Boys. I don't know, like, you know, I don't know who's in charge of these stuff, you know, their recordings now. But anyway, I know that someday from the management somebody's going to check this video, and then if they see below there like 20 comments of we want a re-release of Summer in Paradise, that might affect it. I don't know. The possibility of getting one someday. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you soon again on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.